Wait, stop scrolling, because what just unfolded inside a courtroom was not reality TV, not scripted drama, and not some petty celebrity disagreement that disappears in 24 hours. This was raw betrayal, real consequences, and a moment so explosive it turned a private marriage into a public spectacle watched by millions. Kandi Burruss, known for control, composure, and ironclad loyalty, walked into court carrying more than just legal documents. She walked in carrying the weight of rumors, whispers, and a truth that was about to detonate in front of cameras, reporters, and an internet that never sleeps. This wasn't just a messy headline, this was a collapse of trust, a collision of egos, and a baby bombshell that transformed a marriage into a viral cultural event. Todd Tucker, the man long portrayed as the steady, supportive husband, stood at the center of allegations that would permanently change his image, and Porsha Williams, smiling, polished, serene, found herself pulled into a storm that no amount of grace could fully shield her from. When the truth surfaced, phones were raised, jaws dropped, and social media erupted into chaos, and that was only the beginning. Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker were never just another reality TV couple. For years, they were positioned as the blueprint, the example of how love, loyalty, and business could coexist under relentless public scrutiny. Kandi, a powerhouse in music and television, always seemed 10 steps ahead. Todd, calm and reassuring, played the role of grounding force, the man who supported his wife's empire without needing to outshine it. On camera, they looked unbreakable. Off camera, according to whispers that had circulated quietly for years, not everything was as perfect as it seemed. Those whispers never came with proof, just side eyes, subtle comments, and reunion stage tension that viewers brushed off as normal reality TV theatrics. Kandi defended Todd fiercely, clapping back at anyone who dared question his loyalty. At the time, it looked like strength. In hindsight, it looked like a woman fighting to protect a marriage that may have already been cracking under pressure. Because when the allegations finally surfaced, they didn't feel sudden. They felt like the missing puzzle pieces clicking into place. And then there was Porsha Williams, always camera ready, always smiling. Porsha had mastered the art of appearing untouched by chaos, floating through drama with an elegance that made it hard to pin anything on her. But in this story, she wasn't just a bystander. She became a central figure in what many are calling one of the most controversial love triangles reality television has seen in years. According to multiple anonymous sources, yes, the kind that live in text threads and leaked screenshots, Porsha and Todd's relationship may have gone far beyond casual friendship. The rumors were detailed enough to feel unsettling: alleged late-night messages, deleted texts recovered from backups, hotel sightings that were brushed off as coincidences, private travel arrangements that seemed a little too luxurious to be purely business. None of it confirmed outright, but in the world of reality TV, perception is everything, and perception was quickly turning into outrage, because what the public thought they knew about loyalty was being rewritten in real time. The tension reached its breaking point in court. According to eyewitnesses, Kandi entered the room with a presence that commanded silence. There was no theatrics, no outbursts, just a controlled intensity that said everything without her having to say a word. Her posture was rigid, her gaze unflinching. This wasn't a woman caught off guard. This was someone who had already processed the betrayal and arrived ready for consequences. Porsha followed shortly after, composed, flawless, smiling in a way that felt almost rehearsed. Todd walked in last, visibly weighed down by rumors that had already begun to define him. And then came the revelation that set the internet on fire. Allegedly, Todd Tucker had fathered a child with Porsha Williams, not a rumor whispered backstage, not a leak dropped quietly to a blog. This was presented publicly, dramatically, and with the kind of timing that guarantees virality. The courtroom didn't just hear it, it absorbed it. Shock rippled through the room. Kandi's reaction wasn't explosive, but it was devastating, a stillness that screamed betrayal louder than any scream ever could. Outside the courtroom, the chaos multiplied instantly. Within minutes, clips were circulating across every major platform. Twitter threads ballooned into the thousands. TikTok creators raced to edit reaction videos, looping Kandi's entrance, Porsha's smile, Todd's tense body language. Hashtags exploded worldwide. Hashtag Team Kandi, hashtag Porsha Drama, hashtag Todd Tucker Mess. Memes appeared faster than facts could be verified. Late-night hosts cracked jokes, gossip blogs refreshed their pages non-stop. The internet, as always, picked sides before the full story even finished unfolding. Todd became the center of ridicule overnight. Once praised as a supportive partner, he was now portrayed as the ultimate cautionary tale, a man whose secrets followed him into a courtroom and out onto millions of screens. Porsha's serene social media posts were dissected for hidden meaning. Kandi's silence was analyzed like a chess move. Every pause, every glance, every non-statement became content. As the days passed, the situation escalated further. More alleged leaks surfaced, painting a picture of a man scrambling to control a narrative that had already slipped beyond his grasp. Screenshots reportedly showed Todd attempting to negotiate how information would be released if the truth ever came out. One message, widely circulated online, allegedly read, "If Kandi finds out, it's game over, but it has to go public carefully." When that message hit the internet, public opinion hardened instantly. This wasn't just betrayal, it looked calculated. Kandi's legal team reportedly moved fast. Insiders claimed that her prenup contained clauses tied directly to infidelity and public humiliation, clauses that could trigger severe financial consequences. Suddenly, the scandal wasn't just emotional, it was economic. Sponsorships allegedly paused, business partners distanced themselves. Todd's professional reputation began to unravel alongside his personal one. The man who once seemed untouchable faded from public view almost overnight. Porsha, meanwhile, leaned fully into a narrative of calm and new beginnings. Prenatal yoga posts, soft captions about peace and growth, carefully curated images that emphasized serenity over scandal. But the internet is rarely merciful. Comment sections flooded with sarcasm. Every post trended not for inspiration, but irony. Was this genuine healing or expert damage control? Opinions were sharply divided, and that division only fueled the engagement machine further. Kandi, on the other hand, did something unexpected. She didn't lash out publicly, she didn't spiral on social media, she didn't give the internet the meltdown it was begging for. Instead, she reclaimed control quietly and strategically. Divorce filings followed, statements were measured. According to insiders, negotiations for a high-value memoir began almost immediately. Betrayal, once again, was being transformed into leverage. However, and that silence is where this story truly begins, because when someone known for direct confrontation, sharp clarity, and public composure goes quiet first, it usually means they aren't reacting emotionally, they're recalculating. Insiders claimed that when Kandi saw what was being discussed behind closed doors, whether messages, timelines, or implications, it wasn't heartbreak that hit first, it was disorientation. Because if even part of what she allegedly discovered was real, then what she walked into wasn't simply infidelity, it was something colder, something that looked less like passion and more like positioning. For years, viewers were conditioned to believe that the tension between Kandi, Todd, and Porsha was simply reality TV chaos, the kind that thrives on editing, personality clashes, and dramatic timing. Shade gets thrown, feelings get hurt, ratings go up. But according to multiple online sources and industry whispers, what Kandi allegedly found reframed everything retroactively. This wasn't messy emotions spilling over. This didn't feel accidental. It felt deliberate. People familiar with the chatter say the alleged arrangement didn't read like romance. It didn't read like confusion. It read like structure. And when those whispers reportedly reached Kandi's phone, witnesses say her entire demeanor shifted. Not for cameras, not performatively, personally. There was no immediate confrontation, no public accusation, just withdrawal. And that's the part many fans missed, because panic doesn't always scream. Sometimes it freezes. And if you've ever seen someone realize that their reality might have been managed without their consent, you know the look. It's not anger first, it's shock. Not long after that moment, Kandi finally spoke publicly, but not in the way people expected. She didn't cry, she didn't beg for understanding, she didn't even rush to deny every allegation outright. Instead, she did something far more dangerous in the court of public opinion. She began to dismantle the narrative itself. She pointed out inconsistencies. She highlighted how stories shifted depending on who was speaking and when the cameras were rolling. She made it clear there were receipts, timelines, and versions that did not line up. That distinction matters, because when someone stops arguing about whether something happened and starts showing how the story keeps changing, it signals a shift from emotional defense to analytical exposure. Kandi wasn't trying to convince people she was innocent, she was showing that the truth, whatever it was, had been unstable from the beginning, and instability is where suspicion lives. In a resurfaced interview clip that fans have replayed endlessly, Kandi addressed how Porsha's public narrative evolved over time. She referenced moments where Porsha allegedly shaded her, implied things publicly, and then adjusted her story when confronted. Kandi didn't sound surprised, she sounded tired, as if this wasn't the first time she'd noticed the pattern, but possibly the moment when all the pieces finally aligned. Her delivery wasn't reactive, it was controlled, deliberate, and heavy, like someone who had already done the emotional math privately. Kandi also revisited past controversies, making it clear that she would have never spoken on certain personal topics if she hadn't been publicly provoked first. She emphasized that she has always been transparent about her life and experiences, nothing hidden, nothing secret. And then she brought up something that made viewers uncomfortable, not because of what it implied, but because of what it contradicted. Kandi claimed that Porsha, who had previously preached against LGBTQ+ communities publicly and on camera, had privately behaved very differently. According to Kandi, Porsha had kissed her, flirted with her, and expressed interest, behavior that stood in direct opposition to her public stance. The point wasn't sexuality, the point was contradiction, because contradictions are the backbone of this entire controversy. Public morality versus private behavior, one version for television, another for real life. And when contradictions pile up without clarification, they stop feeling like misunderstandings. They start feeling like strategy. Things escalated when Kandi explained the context behind one of the most damaging accusations aired on the show. She stated that when she confronted Porsha about things that had been said about her, the response wasn't accountability, it was retaliation, an accusation involving Kandi and Todd allegedly trying to involve Porsha in a sexual situation. But Kandi highlighted something viewers hadn't considered. The clip shown on television was edited, the timing was altered. The accusation did not appear in isolation, it came after confrontation. That detail is crucial because context isn't decoration in media, context is control. Anyone who understands reality TV production knows that you don't have to fabricate a lie to reshape perception. You only need to move the order of events, crop the beginning, delay the cause, highlight the reaction. If Kandi's account is accurate, then what viewers saw wasn't the origin of the allegation, it was the counterattack. And then came the messages, not contracts, not paperwork, messages. Kandi claimed that once she presented text messages, the story shifted yet again. She referenced texts sent days later that directly contradicted public claims, messages that painted a completely different picture of what allegedly occurred. And this is where online speculation intensified, because messages feel tangible, they feel immediate, they don't require interpretation the way rumors do. No official contract has been shown, no verified document has surfaced, but fans began to argue that behavior can function like agreement long before anything is signed. Timelines started to bother people. Viewers revisited old footage with fresh eyes, late-night hangouts that once seemed harmless, sudden closeness, awkward energy when all three appeared together, promotions that didn't match the supposed dynamics, interviews that felt rehearsed instead of organic. What once felt uncomfortable now felt intentional. Then Kandi addressed accusations that she was jealous of Porsha, and this is where the narrative fractured completely. She shut that idea down not with insults, but with receipts of investment, emotional, professional, financial. She listed moments where she advocated for Porsha's job, promoted her music, included her in productions, spent money to support her success, even when they weren't on good terms. That isn't rivalry, that's alliance. And according to Kandi, the return on that alliance was Betrayal, aired for entertainment. This is where audiences split sharply. One side asked why someone would fabricate something this specific, this layered, and this risky. The other asked a far more dangerous question. Why hasn't there been a clean denial? Because in celebrity culture, denials move quickly. Silence lingers, and lingering silence becomes suspicion. After that interview aired, there was no unified statement, no joint clarification, no carefully worded press release shutting everything down, just fragments, selective responses, interviews that didn't match, tone shifts, controlled language, and Kandi's voice changed again, not louder, heavier, like someone no longer confused, just reorganizing. Insiders claimed that production left out far more than it showed, that what viewers saw was compressed, sanitized, and strategically trimmed, and that what wasn't aired painted a much colder picture. That's when a phrase reportedly began circulating quietly behind the scenes. It wasn't passion, it was positioning. From that moment on, fans stopped watching episodes passively. They started studying behavior. Todd's posture when Porsha entered a room, Kandi's emotional distance, Porsha's ease, her comfort. Too much comfort, too little hesitation. People stopped searching for proof and started tracking pattern, and patterns emerged. Todd's public responses grew shorter, his explanations more vague. Media analysts often note that when someone moves from explaining to deflecting, something is happening behind the scenes. Kandi, meanwhile, stopped correcting narratives entirely. She stopped engaging. She stopped reacting, which isn't weakness, it's strategy. A legal consultant commented online that private deals don't always come with paper. Sometimes they come with expectations. That single sentence reignited speculation because suddenly the conversation wasn't about documents, it was about access, proximity, support, silence, comfort where discomfort should exist. People began asking a question no one wanted to answer. If nothing happened, why does every explanation keep changing? Why does every version need a clarification? Because truth wants oxygen, denial wants speed, silence wants time, and time brings consequences. Fans noticed something chilling. Kandi's energy shifted before the public ever knew anything, which means the collapse didn't begin online, it began privately. She wasn't reacting to rumors, she was processing revelation, and that distinction matters. Because collapses don't scream, they calculate. Kandi didn't explode, she withdrew, she reorganized, she protected herself. And withdrawal isn't sadness, it's defense. Now here we are, no confirmed contract, no official document, but a silence so loud it has reshaped reputations, relationships, and public behavior. And if the alleged agreement never existed, the secrecy surrounding the rumor has created something arguably worse, a shadow that won't disappear. The fallout reached every corner of the industry. Reality TV producers reportedly scrambled to reassess footage, reunion plans, and future storylines. Sponsors hesitated. Media outlets reframed headlines daily as new alleged details surfaced. Todd became synonymous with scandal. Porsha became a symbol of controversy wrapped in calm aesthetics. And Kandi emerged as the center of it all, not as a victim, but as a woman who refused to be defined by humiliation. By the time DNA results allegedly confirmed Todd's paternity, the public had already rendered its verdict. Kandi released a statement that struck a chord precisely because of what it lacked. No rage, no insults, just clarity. She acknowledged the pain, reaffirmed her independence, and made it clear that this chapter would not break her, it would fuel her next one. So here we are, watching the aftermath of one of the most explosive reality TV scandals in recent memory. A marriage dissolved, reputations rewritten, a baby born into controversy, and millions of viewers debating loyalty, accountability, and power in the age of viral judgment. Kandi Burruss didn't just survive betrayal, she turned it into a masterclass in control. Porsha Williams adapted, carefully navigating public perception while stepping into motherhood. Todd Tucker became the embodiment of a lesson the internet never forgets: secrets don't stay hidden forever. And now, the real question remains: who actually won? Was this justice, chaos, or calculated survival? Was Kandi justified in letting the truth play out publicly, or did the spectacle go too far? Is Porsha truly at peace, or simply skilled at PR? And Todd? Was he a villain, or a man undone by his own choices? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story isn't just gossip, it's a mirror reflecting how betrayal, power, and perception collide in the public eye. Like the video if you're Team Kandi, share it if you think this scandal rewrote reality TV history. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in, because the tea isn't done brewing, and storms like this never end quietly.